Treasure Trove.
Treasure Trove.
My name is Mikey, and this is my co-host Dan. This is a show where we talk about items in Dungeons and Dragons, magic items that you can give to your players, and hopefully they can have a bit of fun and enjoy themselves. You know, that's what it's all about, isn't that right, Daniel? That's what it's about.
I totally agree. It's about fun, and as soon as you stop having fun, the game is bad.
The game is bad.
Even momentarily, the game has to be stopped. Call Mike Merles, get him on the phone.
Get on. How come the game's not fun?
He's got a hotline for that.
You can't have him speak, or you put in the middle of the table, and you're like, "So, Mike, how come it's not fun? My players stopped having fun there."
He's like, "It's all in the player's handbook."
We're gonna read through the Dungeon Master's Guide, the magic items in
Yes.
there. So that's what we do in this show. We go through it alphabetically, and today it's brought to you by the letter I. Like, I love magic items.
Hey!
Yeah, thank you very much.
The eyes are actually a reasonably short section of the overall length
Absolutely, yeah.
of the magic items, but I think we'll get a good episode of them because there's some pretty dense items, kind of two big dense ones that we'll have to kind of...
There's one that actually takes up like pretty much an entire page, so
yeah.
that's going to be one to look forward to. Dan, do you want to start us off? Do you want to? Are you feeling it?
I'm very much feeling it because we're starting with an item that I'm a big fan of, which is the immovable rod. So we're starting with IM. So we're already halfway through the alphabet.
Yeah.
As far as the second letter is concerned. So the immovable rod. I'll read out the actual rules description before I get into it. Rod, uncommon. So uncommon. If you're just joining us, that second word is how rare it is as a magic item. So uncommon means that basically any level party could reasonably find this item, and it wouldn't cause a problem. Would probably be the most succinct way to describe it.
And it's funny because from this book at least, uncommon is actually, compared to the rest, the most common. But they did start bringing in common items. So that's kind of like, it goes common and then uncommon, and then it goes with the rares and stuff.
Yes, and I think in some book somewhere it says that like even common magic items are still, reasonably rare because they're magical.
Yeah.
But in the context of a world of magical items could be considered, some kind of trinkets could be considered common.
Yeah.
So this flat iron rod has a button on one end. You can use an action to press the button, which causes the rod to become magically fixed in place. Until you or another creature uses an action to push the button again, the rod doesn't move, even if it is defying gravity. The rod can hold up to 8,000 pounds of weight. Now, I have no idea how much weight that is because I work in kilos.
Okay, let's. I'm gonna just see if I can do a quick Google here.
Yeah, you check that. I'll just finish the description. More weight causes the rod to deactivate and fall. So anything more than that falls. A creature can use an action to make a DC 30 strength check, moving the fixed rod up to 10 feet on a success. I like that a lot. That like even if you have even if you have an incredible strength check, you can just move it. You can't break it, weight causes it to deactivate and fall, but there's no amount of strength that can do that.
8,000 pounds is equal to 3,629 kilograms.
Wow.
And what would that be? What's
3,600? So,
I got Google here. I'll look it up for you. Let's see.
Oh my God. So convenient.
What is 1,000 kg? Let's have a look here. Any examples?
I guess 3,000 kg would be 30 tons.
It's about 1 1/10 times as heavy as a tongue well. It's about 4/5 as heavy as a hippopotamus. It's gonna be a lot of.
Right. So it's not even the full weight. It's not even the full weight of the hippo. There you go.
And it's actually it's about half as heavy as a Tyrannosaurus Rex. So there's a real life thing there. I'm using the measure of things. Let's see, blueballprojects.com measure of things in case you guys want to check my sources there. But there we go. That's what I'm using.
Yeah, that's a good idea. There's also there's always I recommend people whenever they have maths questions, Wolfram Alpha, which is a computational website. You can just type in any number or many questions and it will just answer that. So it's about 4 cows. 3,000 kilos is about 4 cows.
4 cows, okay. Right.
So 4 cows will break the rod, the immovable rod. The rod will move for 4 cows.
Yeah. So I like how you put 1 cow on, you put a second cow on,
of course,
and then a third, and you're like, should I chance one more cow? and then once you put that fourth cow on, it just breaks.
Oh.
And it's like, it's gone. I don't know if this is too much canon for the immovable rod, but at least in a game that we both played, Daniel, my orc fighter Borok was through the help of a crit 20 and like a divination wizard helping them along the way.
And a bardic inspiration.
He was able to move the immovable rod because so much things just went his way with it. And I think one character was like, hey, look, I bought this immovable rod. It won't move at all. And then Borok, he didn't even know it was a movable rod. He's like, oh, fine, I'll give it a go. I'll try and move it. And then he just did.
I believe the exact wording was, try to move this rod. And, Borok's just like, sure, like,
and then he did, but it was more like you saw like the dimensions being pulled, basically. You saw like reality. He's like, I did it. And he's like, oh, who is this guy? Like,
you're not supposed to move that.
Yeah. Sure, you can do it that way. That was a bit of fun,
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Cool. So, the immovable rod.
So the reason I like it is I like magic items like this that just do a thing. I think that's like, there's a lot of magic items that I like for different reasons. But I think things like the immovable rod are my favorite because they do a thing, and the thing they do is very obviously weird and magic and cool, but it's also kind of fundamentally physical. And it's not like, I love mats. I love battle mats. I love, the cool sword that deals a bunch of damage and the spear that hit good. But I think for me, my favorite kind of magic item is just, this is an item that just like does a thing. So like you move a rod, it's like, what does it do? If you turn it on, it doesn't move, and it will never move. And accepting like unbelievable amounts of force, it will never move. And obviously the context of like a DC 30 strength check might seem a little low, but that's kind of the way 5th edition works. Like its math is very flat. Maybe 8,000 pounds feels low, but I wouldn't know. I mean, but I think just the idea of like the magic item that just says it does this thing, in the same way that like the cloak of invisibility, it's like, what does it do? You put it on and you're invisible. And that's what it does. It's the cloak of invisibility. Like, yeah.
This kind of item, it's really easy to just give to new players because there isn't the big battle mats. There isn't like, a table or something where they have to have it in front of them. It's like, you can give it to a new player, someone who's like never even played D&D before, having their first game. It's like, oh, you have this item. It's a rod that doesn't move when you press it. And then they'll just get that. They should just be able to get that, and then they can start thinking of how to use it instead of like trying to figure out the rules of the game almost,
Yeah. As opposed to giving, a party whatever, like an unusual magic weapon, and them having to figure out like which one of us should use this based on how its math works or whatever.
Yeah, and like what does fire damage do like exactly in this game?
Yes, yeah, exactly, yeah. Like, this is a flaming sword. Does that mean I can set things on fire easily, or is it magic fire and it doesn't really do that, or blah, blah, blah? Yeah. Whereas this is just like, it is a stick. If you press the button, the stick does not move. And that's basically it. There's some exceptions because the world of D&D is a world of exceptions and rules. But broadly speaking, the intention is that it's a stick, you press a button, it stops moving, and that's the end of the discussion. And because, like, as you say, there's no battle mats, you give it to a new player, you explain to them what it does, and the description of what it does, like, is the rules text, Like, the only distinction between a totally naturalistic description of the items, of what the item does, and the rules text is that the rules text has to tell you that it takes an action. It has to specify like, oh, it's an action to use this. Whereas obviously, like, outside of combat, it doesn't really matter how long it takes. It's just a button press, and you just go, oh, you just press the button and it does the thing.
I like the image of like standing on it while you're in the air and just like, you're like, oh, what's he doing up there? He's just standing in the air, and you're like, they don't know that I'm standing on a movable rod, but okay,
I always liked the ladder. You have two.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You put one in place and lock it in, and then you lift the other one above you and lock it in, and then you put one. I always thought that's such a fun, simple idea.
It is. It's also a little bit like, it's kind of power gamey because you can picture someone going in like, I want 2 movable rods so I can be unbeatable, but like, they need to figure that out first,
Yeah.
It's fun though. It's good. I'll definitely let the player do that if they can find 2 of them.
Reminds me of that speedrun tech in. I don't know if you've seen any of Untitled's Goose Game, but there's a hilarious bit of speedrun tech where you can pick up an item over and over again by spamming the button.
Okay.
Like, a lot of times speedrunners will like map to the wheel, and by doing that with like the can, you can basically like levitate in the air and fly around the map. It just makes me think of that, like that kind of idea of like, if I have 2 of these sticks, I can fly very slowly.
Yeah, you have to get 2 movable rods, but you can only get 1 in the actual game. So you have to kind of like try and duplicate it somehow by doing a different glitch.
Gotta use duplication glitch. Yeah.
And then imagine like you as the DM just kind of explain them like going outside the map, you know, just kind of like they go up too high. There's so much you can do with this though. You can like do the ladder. Let's say if you're falling from like a crashing airship, you can kind of use it to like just kind of hold on to the air. Really, like everyone else probably be falling, but you'll be fine, I guess. Or you can hold on to someone. I think would it be like something good for like, you know, let's say if you have like a bookcase or something up against a door and you're trying to get like zombies or something, you don't want them to come in. You put like the movable rod in front of the bookcase, and then it just like it just kind of, they can't get through it, or else they have to keep pushing.
In a campaign I played, the DM gave me a climber's kit where the pittons were immovable pittons.
Excellent.
So if they were hammered in with the hammer from the climber's kit, they were as stuck as immovable rods.
Very cool.
And the only thing that could remove them outside of, you know, extreme amounts of force was the same hammer. It was like a claw hammer, so you could obviously just use the other end to pull them out of the ground.
And can that like go into the air like a movable rod, or do you have to push it in to?
I never used it as in. I believe the intention was that it couldn't be hammered into the air. It could just be hammered into things and couldn't be moved.
Okay.
But I never tried, so I don't actually know. I think I just mostly use them for like, you know, setting up like permanent climbing points. Like if we were delving somewhere, setting up something that's like, that's definitely not going to move. And I recall at the climax of the game, I used them to bar a door, because it was just very sensible to do that.
Very smart.
And get away.
Daniel, you can use that idea as well. You can have unmovable pittons for a climbing kit.
Movable pittons. Immovable anything really. Like, it's such a fascinating idea, like an immovable curtain, you know, like something fabric that's normally quite like soft and diaphanous, I think is the word I'm looking for. That like then, you know, there's some kind of command word or some symbol on it and you can freeze the curtain in place. Something like that would be very cool for like, say, a vampire's manor. That all the curtains are immovable curtains, because why would a vampire ever want to let the light in?
Yeah, that's very cool.
Which could then kind of, if the players are like, we're going to pull the curtains and get them, it's like they can't, and it freaks them out.
Yeah.
You like, they're like, we want to pull the curtains to hit the vampire with sunlight, and you go, make a strength check. They go, excuse me?
I'm sorry, what?
I said the curtains.
Yeah, give it a go. Because I was just thinking, I can do a movable anything, and then the first thing came to my head was a movable chair, and then it's funny. And then I had a thought, like, actually, maybe like an immovable throne for like a castle. And then maybe because the king wanted a movable throne, because he's like, the throne, even if the castle goes down, the throne must never go down, you know?
Like symbolic, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And then that was just the end of my thought, really, with that one. So
that's cool, though. I like that.
That just went through my head right there.
That could be a fun a puzzle that the castle has fallen, and now the immovable throne hides like the king's cellar with all his cool treasures in it.
Oh,
and you have to delve through the dungeon to find the artificer's workshop to learn what the passcode is. And
of course, your players will try to push it.
They will,
and then they might give up, or they'll kind of think for a while, and then there might be a button somewhere, maybe a key, a password, as you know, anything.
Or put it at the bottom of the dungeon, and then they save a prince who's like, have the password to my throne, and then they have to go do a dungeon if they want it, and you're like, it's whatever.
Prince, how come there's a dungeon down here? How come I have to fight?
Prince is like, whatever.
A beholder.
It's not my business.
Not my business. See it.
That's my dad. You told him I sent you, right? Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Well, yeah, I think that's really it for that one. Movable rod. It's a rod that doesn't move when you set it. The next one I shall read is the Instrument of the Bards. Very cool. Wondrous item, rarity varies. Requires attunement by a bard. An instrument of the bards. That's a funny way of putting it. An instrument of the bards is an exquisite example of its kind, superior to any ordinary instrument in every way. 7 types of these instruments exist, each named after a legendary bard college. The following table lists the spells common to all instruments, as well as the spells specific to each one and its rarity. A creature that attempts to play the instrument without being attuned to it must succeed a DC 15 Wisdom saving throw or take 2d4 psychic damage.
You are slain instantly.
Yeah, a first level player would just be like, I'm dead, I'm on the ground. Death saving throws.
I'm dead. I just died.
I died.
Get death saving throws. No, I'm dead.
Nah, I don't want to do that.
No, I'm dead.
We'll make a new character. You can use an action to play the instrument and cast one of its spells. Once the instrument has been used to cast a spell, it can't be used to cast that spell again until the next dawn. The spell uses your spellcasting ability and spell save DC. When you use the instrument to cast a spell that causes targets to become charmed on a failed save, the targets have disadvantage on the saving throw. This effect applies whether you are using the instrument as the source of the spell or as a spellcasting focus. Okay. Interesting. And it has a table for all the instruments that we have here. Let's go through them. All the instruments have fly, invisibility.
All the instruments have every spell.
Wow. So, all the instruments have these spells. Fly, invisibility, levitate, protection from good and evil, or evil and good. Good and evil.
Weird.
Good and evil sounds better.
Good evil sounds better. Yeah, that's weird. Protection from evil and good.
Yeah. Plus the spells it's in on particular instruments. So the first one is the Anstruth harp. Anstruth.
I thought they both sounded fine.
Yeah. Very rare. Yeah. That one has control weather, cure wounds, 5th level, and wall of thorns. The Canaith mandolin. Damn, I wish Tim was here. Rare. Cure wounds 3rd levels, dispel magic, and protection from energy, lightning only.
Sorry. Just something about like the way you said protection from energy. Like, holy shit.
Protection from energy, man.
No, fuck you. I'm protected from energy. Nothing happens.
You absolute fool. I can't believe you're shooting me with energy.
You buffoon.
I have protection from energy.
I specifically took protection from energy. You idiot. Have you even played D&D before?
You fell for the oldest trick in the book. It's the oldest blunder.
Oh, the classic blunder.
All right. That's lightning only. That's only lightning energy. So don't even think about like kinetic energy.
Yeah.
Which would be, I guess, I don't know.
Everything.
Everything.
If you're able to protect yourself from energy, that'd be like, shit, you win.
You win. That's why they put lightning
unless
only.
Someone starts using some negative dimensional shit on you. It's
yeah.
Like, no.
Oh god. The Clee Lyre is rare. Stone Shape, Wall of Fire, and Wind Wall. So a few like very wall-based ones there.
Elemental thingies, yeah.
Yeah. It's elemental, but also stuff that kind of keeps up a wall. So it's fun. A little bit of theme in there.
Keeps you defended. Yeah.
The DOS Loot. That's a great name, you know.
That is, yeah.
You play it when you're DOSing, which of course a lot of people who listen to this aren't from Ireland, so they don't really understand the slang of DOS, which means messing about.
To behave in a lazy manner.
Yes.
Are you DOSing? Would be like, are you doing nothing?
Yeah, if you weren't working, you would you would be on the DOS. You would be DOSing. So having this called the DOS loot just reminds you of having a loot that you play when you're DOSing. So
when you're not working.
Yep. So the DOS loot, uncommon, animal friendship, protection from energy, fire only. And
holy shit, he has protection from all energy. Fuck. Like,
which protection? Which energy are you protected from? All of them. Oh my god, my heart. And protection from poison. Excellent. Poisons.
It's just a game, man.
Is it the Fokluken Bandor? Which I really should know all these, but like they just all sound like made up words.
Shouldn't say that about Lucan, man. That's out of order.
Uncommon, Entangle, Fairy Fire, Shillelagh, and Speak with Animals. So that's good stuff there. Very kind of like almost druidic kind of spells there, I think. Druid kind of based stuff there. Let's see, what is the Fokluken Bandor? I know you guys can't see this, but maybe I'll put it on the Twitter. But I just want to have a look at this for myself.
I think it's the only one that's not pictured here. Is it?
Yeah, I think so. It's the only one. And it's it's the only thing that comes up is like a D&D related thing. So but it's just a stringed instrument. Looks like, the lyre or the lute. Very simple.
Oh yeah, like similar enough.
very similar to that, really. Good instrument, but also, yeah, just very druidic spells on that one. So I'll make sure I put a picture on the on.
Oh yeah,
we don't have a Discord. I'll put the pictures up on the on the Twitter.
You have a Discord. We don't have a Discord.
That's true. Yeah. And what's next?
The Macfuirmid Cittern.
Uncommon, Barkskin, Cure Wounds, Fog Cloud. There we go.
Those are some nice, sensible spells. I believe Barkskin is kind of considered not great, but I think it's probably less bad when you're getting an item to cast it for you, because then you don't have to learn it.
I put a picture of the Fokluken Bandor on our Creature Club, our personal Discords that we use to record this.
Recording studio.
And Tim just sent back a nice with a thumbs up. So I wonder what he's thinking right now. Yeah.
So there you go, Tim. You're in the episode. Well done.
Good stuff. And the last but not least, the Ollum Harp, which is legendary, and in that one gives you Confusion, Control Weather, and Firestorm.
So that's some Firestorm. So that's a big difference.
Beastly spells
protection
there.
from energy.
Yeah, no protection from energy though, so I don't. That ain't do too good. Right. So these instruments, they're just a kind of an ideal bard instrument. They're kind of the legendary, the best bard instruments that are out there.
Yes.
Like you can throw them into your world and have them as these like legendary artifacts. You can even have like a bard character have as like their story for the game. Like, I want to search for the instruments of the bards. I want to have them and preserve them, or I just want to find them for myself. Either way, they can easily be like these kind of legendary things that you kind of search the world for. But even if you don't do that, having one of these is super cool for a bard, because they just have some more extra spells they can do. A lot of these spells, some of these spells, would all these be bard spells, or are these some extra different spells in here?
No, some of them I think specifically aren't bard spells. I believe. I could be wrong. I believe bards don't normally get like Firestorm, for example, from the Olive Harp. I think they might not get protection from energy. And I don't think they get Barkskin. I think Barkskin is Druid and Ranger. So I think there's a couple of, I think it's mostly like kind of Druid and Ranger magic is where they're touching. So they're kind of, I guess, playing into that sort of naturalistic magic. Yeah.
All these instruments are also very Celtic. So
they are, yeah.
Very druidic kind of theme spells.
Yes,
that's
a good point as well. Yeah. And you could also I think reasonably easily, because the specifics of the actual instrument doesn't matter in the context of D&D. You could freely replace them with other instruments in your setting, or even have it, an element of kind of, that the instruments reflect their masters in some way, or they reflect the times they're in, so that they change from perhaps these more traditional like Celtic instruments into something that suits the place they are. Yeah. Perhaps even as far as going, like, if you're ever like playing a modern D&D game, like they could become like electric instruments, synthesizers and electric guitars and that kind of thing.
Oh, that'd be so good. Since it'd be modern, but it'll be set in the 80s though. That has to be
yeah, obviously, yeah.
Absolutely. You can make these you can just make them into whatever instrument you want, but just keep the spells. I guess the spells are, they're supposed to be balanced to how the rarity is. Of course, the legendary one you would only give, there'll be a special one that you'll give to after a really, after like a big campaign, almost maybe.
It'd be like a dungeon reward or something, like
a dungeon reward, yeah.
Like a big, like, hey, you did it. This is what you get. You finished your personal story. You defeated your brother in single musical combat, and you get the harp.
And then you get my harp, and then, or it can be just you get my guitar, and then it can be anything. But the uncommon ones could be just ones that they find in any old dungeon. It can be like that.
Yeah. Although I will say that even the uncommon ones, even the low level items, because they have access to those generic spells, which includes fly. It's worth mentioning that, just because I always find that fly is kind of a game changer.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it lets players ignore a great deal of what would otherwise be fairly conventional, significant hazards.
Yeah. I guess once your players, or at least one of them has access to flying. You kind of have to start thinking a bit differently, I guess, or they could easily, bypass something about content that you make for them if they have fly, and if you forget about that, because there's a labyrinth, all right, I fly over it, like, okay, there we go. It's basically that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a spike pit or whatever, or there's a big lake full of piranhas. And it's not like, and as far as I'm concerned, it's not a problem because, ordinarily it costs a spell slot. In this context, you can only cast a spell once per day, like per spell.
Yeah.
So you can only cast fly on one person. It doesn't look like you don't have to concentrate when you cast spells with the item, so that you'd still have to concentrate on it.
Yeah.
So, really you're talking about maybe the players are able to overcome 1 or 2 challenges with the spell, but they've spent the spell slot, so that's fine.
Yeah.
But it's just worth remembering because it can be very easy to come up with very conventional challenges, like, just that you would have to normally traverse by walking or swimming or climbing.
Yeah.
And flying is able to just sort of ignore all of those. And obviously, if one person can fly and they are strong enough to hold a rope, they are also able to get the entire party past a lot of problems.
And if they have fly and immovable rod, they could fly up high and tie the rope onto immovable rod, and then there you go.
Yes. And then swing a big pendulum and use it to tell the time.
And it is 5? Is that what that means? we successfully made this pendulum, but I don't know how to tell the time using a pendulum.
Well, I hope one of you knows the first thing about timekeeping, because I don't. So.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. So even like the spells they all get are pretty great. They're pretty good spells because you have fly, you have levitate as well, and invisibility. Yes. They're all great spells. Yeah. They're all really good spells that like any player would be happy to have.
Yeah, they're dead handy, absolutely.
Yeah,
and that's obviously part of the power of the item is that it gives the bard, hey, here's a bunch of cool, useful spells that you don't have to worry about learning anymore because you've got them with the item, which is obviously great.
Yeah.
But yeah, just fly and levitate collectively are dangerous things.
Watch out, hero. Do not fly. Mm-hmm. It's dangerous. Excellent, cool. So that's really it for the Instrument of the Bards. They're just a great magic item to give to a bard character that you have. Make sure it's just for your bard because it only works if they are a bard. So
yes,
yeah, excellent. Dan, I'll let you read the next one, but I will help you out halfway through because it's a lot.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a 2-man job.
Yep.
All right, Ion Stone. An Ion Stone is named after Ion, a god of knowledge and prophecy revered on some worlds. Many types of Ion Stone exist, each type a distinct combination of shape and color. When you use an action to toss one of these stones into the air, the stone orbits your head at a distance of 1d3 feet and confers a benefit to you. Thereafter, another creature must use an action to grasp or net the stone to separate it from you, either by making a successful attack roll against AC 24 or a successful DC 24 dexterity acrobatics check. You can use an action to seize and stow the stone, ending its effect. A stone has 24 AC, 10 hit points, and resistance to all damage. It is considered to be an object that is being worn while it orbits your head.
All right, before we go in there, what's going on? What is this? What are they trying to tell us?
So yeah, this is like basically. I would like to sort of submit this paragraph as my thesis of like this is what is wrong with Dungeons and Dragons. Basically, you can put the stone and it orbits your head, and other people can try to get rid of it. And it's an object.
So they made all these rules in case, like, what if a player wants to get rid of these stones? Like, all right, here's the rules, I guess.
I would strongly assume that these are old rules for how ion stones are dealt with.
Right.
Because of the fact that they're so weirdly specific. So yeah, basically you have this stone, you throw it into the air, it starts orbiting your head. Presumably like around the crown of your head and not like actually in orbit where like it would knock into your neck or something because that'd be really annoying. Like a degrading orbit where it keeps falling into your ears.
Yeah.
And then it's an object. A stone has AC 24, 10 hit points, and resistance to all damage. It is considered to be an object that is being worn while it orbits your head. So that obviously that specification is there because of the distinction how the game sees worn objects versus unattended objects. Like, stuff like Fireball says like unattended objects can be set on fire or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And like the intention is that the Ion Stone is on your person and so can't be like easily destroyed as if it were an unattended object.
Right. Okay. So that's just giving us rules in case that specific kind of situation happens. So
I mean,
fine.
Yeah, it's like it's fine. It's weird. It's really weird because the game generally doesn't have rules for stuff like this.
Yeah.
Like, there are no specific rules for someone wants to slap someone wants to slap the olive harp out of the hands of your bard.
Yeah.
It's like, how do they do that? Are they allowed? Is it an opposed check? Is it difficult? Is it because DC 24 is reasonably tough?
Yeah.
Like, you know, so like
I was just taken aback a bit because like I don't know what the Ironstones do now, because the first paragraph, like the first two paragraphs, are just like here's what's going to happen in the specific situation.
They're basically all the rules lawyer stuff up front.
Yeah.
Before you're allowed to have any fun, you have to have your rules.
Yeah, and I feel like if I just like I wouldn't use this, because I would look at this and be like, that's a lot of stuff going on there, and then I would read this first part like, what is this about? I just like, you know, my dyslexia would just like be like, oh yeah, God, I don't like this, and then I just get rid of it.
That's absolutely fair.
Yeah, and
also and this is interesting because I would have an interesting reaction where I would go, I don't like that it tells me that the stone has an AC and hit points, because if that's true in the world, do people in the world know that? And does that mean that hypothetically can an enemy, an NPC of some kind with sufficient intelligence and capabilities elect willingly to destroy an Ion Stone that a player has? Because this is the weird thing about D&D. At a certain point, if you guys are level 17 and you're in hell and you're fighting a Lucifer, and Lucifer kills one of you, it's fine, because there's magic in the game that gives you back your friend.
Yeah.
But if Lucifer spends an attack roll destroying your Ion Stone, there is no spell in the game that restores your Ion Stone except for wishing it back to life. So in some ways, that fucks the players more, right? Like, destroying their things, because the game doesn't have rules for getting your things back.
No.
Is actually harder than just killing them. Like if I deal 70 damage to the wizard and kill the wizard, it doesn't matter, because the cleric can get them up next round.
Yeah.
But if I deal 70 damage to the wizard's Ion Stone and permanently reduce their intelligence by 2 points, that is a bigger blow to the party. And the fact that I have the presence of mind to know that, and the fact that in the world of D&D there are supposed to be creatures smarter than me, makes me realize that, like, why wouldn't they do that, you know?
Yeah.
What's stopping them from making that decision, other than the fact that I know it would be a fucking stupid and shitty thing to do? So if it's a stupid, shitty thing to do that's going to undermine the fun of the game, why does the rule exist? What's it for?
Why does it have hit points as well? Because I can understand, like, you know, them being rules, like, here's how to disarm, here's how to get rid of stuff being worn, and like it has, it's a disc check to get to like hit it out of their head or something. That's fine, but it's just like its AC's 24 and its hit points is 10, so like, you know, roll initiative if you want to get rid of it or something.
It's like, and it's resistant to all damage. It's like, okay, so it has 20 hit points.
Yeah. 20 hit points.
It has like that's effectively what it has. It has 20 hit points. You know, like, it's like, that's not even an impressive number of hit points.
And looking at, like, skimming through what this thing actually does, I can understand someone wanting to get rid of it if they know what it is. But it's just weird how they just put it all there in the I don't know, it's just strange. It's a strange introduction to this item.
Because all you could say is, it's a stone, it magically orbits your head. Its magic means that it is impossible to separate from you. If another creature tries to take it, they can't. The magic just doesn't let it happen. Like, these stones have magic that's like, your fucking intelligence permanently increases. Like, what does that mean, D&D? Like, what does it feel like to get 2 extra intelligence points? The game has no time to explain to me what this means, but the game has enough time to explain to me over the course of 3 paragraphs how to fucking kill a stone. You know what I mean? Like, this is what this paragraph could be one paragraph that says, you activate the stone and it orbits your head. It is visible to other creatures, so they know you have a stone, and stones are valuable across the world. But stones can't be separated from their wielders unwillingly. And that's really interesting, because that creates a different context. Because if you imagine, like, I'm thinking of, do you remember the Channel 4 show Misfits?
I've never seen it myself, no. But I remember it.
It's just a show about teenagers who get superpowers, but it's all edgy.
Yeah.
But in the second season, there's a character whose superpower is that he can give and take superpowers, and people go to him as a broker. And the implication is that you have to be willing to give him a power. So he buys them from you. He like literally pays you money because he can't force you to give them to him. And so in the context of D&D, if your players had these Ion Stones and they're very powerful relics, but they're tied to you in a way that means they can't be removed, then instead it could become a negotiation where, you know, the Archdevil says, I can give you the information you need to forge the Sword of Aeons or whatever, but I want that stone because I know what it does and it's valuable to me. And now the players are making a decision rather than I'm a high enough level Archdevil that I know how powerful a stone is and I'm going to spend an attack action destroying it. It doesn't matter that it has AC 24 and 20 hit points. I can like sleep through AC 24 and 20 hit points because I'm a CR 17 monster and I'm built to kill players at level 17.
Yeah.
So there's nothing this thing can do to stop me.
Right. And I can also understand, like, if you're knocked unconscious, it just falls off when, like, you know, like, I'm unconscious, so the thing is also kind of unconscious as well.
Yes.
And that can just be easier. Like, if you want to get rid of it, just knock the person unconscious, you know, and it's down on the ground instead of, does it still float around your head when you're unconscious? Is that what I'm trying to get at? Or is it still at your head? Like, you know, sure, fine, but that's another way. Listen, I understand why they put it here. Was like, as I already said, I'm going around circles here. When you read it there, I was like, I'm sorry, what's going on? What are we talking about anymore?
like that sounded like a bit, but I could tell you were actually like, for real though, why did you
say that?
Reading the rule book? Like,
So
why him say that?
Why him say that? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Do you want to go into what the item actually does, Daniel?
Yeah, let's do that. We've had a very self-indulgent time talking about these 3 paragraphs.
Yeah.
But to summarize them, the stone floats around your head, and people can try to get rid of it, and you can put it away if you are scared of that. And that's basically it.
And the stones give you buffs and abilities. I think that's what's going to happen when we're reading it.
The stones give you buffs while they're orbiting your head, but they're vulnerable. And if you put them away, they're not vulnerable, but they don't give you the benefit.
Yeah. Do you want to do one by one, Daniel?
That's a good idea.
Cool.
That's a good idea.
You can start.
Okay, so the first Ion Stone is Absorption, and this is a very rare stone. While this pale lavender ellipsoid orbits your head, you can use your reaction to cancel a spell of 4th level or lower cast by a creature you can see and targeting only you. Once the stone has cancelled 20 levels of spells, it burns out and turns dull grey, losing its magic. If you are targeted by a spell whose level is higher than the number of spells levels the stone has left, the stone can't cancel it.
So that's just counterspell, right? In a sense.
Yes, I think it's a bit worse because I think counterspell, you can counter any spell someone is doing that you can see, whereas this is specifically, I am targeting you with Scorching Ray or Magic Missile, and you go, no, my stone eats it. So because it has to be a spell that targets only you.
Yeah.
Also cast by a creature, which I guess means traps. You can't absorb traps.
Okay.
Which seems like a wasted opportunity, to be honest. I wouldn't bother with that. I'd just let it absorb traps. That sounds cool.
Yeah.
Like if a trap goes off and it fires Scorching Rays at you and you just go, haha, and your stone absorbs them. That's kind of an interesting moment.
Other than all that, that's actually a pretty fun one to have, I think. Maybe for like a villain, I think, it'll be a fun
that's a good
fun
idea.
fight if they just had that and you're like, it's absorbing over our spells. You can either like stop using spells or like maybe if you find out about it, like if we just keep throwing spells at it, then we can eventually save the good ones.
It will break.
It will break,
Yeah, that's true. And also it's worth mentioning, just because this is something that's actually not said, but I had to double check to think about it. You don't have to be able to what's the word I'm looking for here? You don't have to be able to
be a spellcaster?
See the spell.
Oh, right.
So like if someone's casting Charm Person on you, for example, you can absorb Charm Person because it's just, you have to be having a spell cast at you and be able to see the person casting it.
Yeah.
So just like basically like non kind of evocation magic that's more subtle, but still targets you, can be absorbed.
Cool. I like the way of the stone kind of knowing when magic is being casted at you, so it's like there to protect you, and you might even notice it, you know, like,
oh yeah, that's a cool idea.
Cool. All right, next one. Agility, very rare. Your dexterity score increases by 2 to a maximum of 20 while this deep red sphere orbits your head. So yeah, just gives you. There's a lot more of these as well, but this one is the first one that just gives you. It brings up your ability score by a buff. So, like, you get by 2, pretty handy if you want to, bring up your decks a bit more. But very simple.
Yes, it is. Yeah, just like a stat buff. Awareness, rare. You can't be surprised while this dark blue rhomboid orbits your head. So another simple one. I think that might be as low a level as they get. I don't think Ion Stones are ever lower than rare.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is just you can't be surprised, which is it's fine.
Yeah. That's fine. Yeah. Elves can't be surprised either, but or can they?
No, elves can be surprised. They can see things coming when they're asleep.
Oh, okay.
But who can't be surprised? Is it rogues or rangers can't be surprised?
At some point, maybe. Yeah.
I think at some point. I know barbarians have that thing where if they're surprised, they can still get angry, as if they weren't surprised, which is fun. The idea of just getting angry is it's funny. It's just the idea of like, I'm upset. I'm gonna get angry. That's it. I'm really PO'd.
I'm miffed. Right. Next one is Fortitude. Very rare. Your Constitution score increases by 2, maximum of 20, while this pink rhomboid orbits your head. So
another
rhomboid going on there. But once again, that is the second of the series of ability score increases. So
greater absorption, legendary. While this marbled lavender and green ellipsoid orbits your head, you can use your reaction to cancel a spell of 8th level or lower, cast by a creature you can see and targeting only you. So far identical to the previous one, but stronger. Once the stone has cancelled 50 levels of spells, it burns out and turns dull grey, losing its magic. If you are targeted by a spell whose level is higher than the number of spell levels the stone has left, the stone can't cancel it. So it's identical to absorption, but it's greater, so it's double the spell level and more than double the total number of levels it can absorb.
Good stuff. Yeah. So it's the exact same as the first one, just stronger, does more. Good stuff. All right, next one. Insight, very rare. Your wisdom score increases by 2 to a maximum of 20, while this incandescent blue sphere orbits your head. So grossly incandescent.
I was just going to say, doesn't incandescent mean like really bright? Like, doesn't that mean you can't look at it? Or
yeah, I think so.
I think in fairness, incandescent is a description of how bright it is. Because it's incandescent bulbs.
Incandescent, emitting light as a result of being heated.
Okay.
Just emitting light. It's just bright. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. So it's just maybe brighter than some of the other ones because they don't mention kind of like emitting light, just that they have a color. Intellect, very rare. Your intelligence score increases by 2 to a maximum of 20, while this marbled scarlet and blue sphere orbits your head. Ooh, it's got 2 colors. That's fun.
Nice one. All right. Leadership. Your charisma score increases by 2 to a maximum of 20, while this marbled scarlet and blue sphere orbits your head. No, sorry. This marbled pink and green sphere orbits your head. Sorry, I got the colors wrong there.
That's fair. Those two, But hey, that's fun as well.
Yeah.
Mastery.
It's legendary.
It's another legendary one. Your proficiency bonus increases by 1, while this pale green prism orbits your head. Cool.
That's pretty handy for everything I think that you do. Just always.
Yeah. Quite mathematically powerful, but not super interesting.
Yeah.
Not a lot to talk about. Anyway, go ahead.
Yep. Protection, rare. You gain +1 bonus to AC while this dusty rose prism orbits your head. I just love the descriptions of these things. They're great.
Time to be hitting that old dusty trail.
Yeah, I can just picture, the guys over at Wizards, just like, one guy coming into like the room of the writers, like, all right, guys, I need descriptions and stones. So
I need 15 distinct stone descriptions immediately.
What do you got? An incandescent gem,
a dusty rose. They're like looking outside at the gardens around Wizards.
Yeah.
Okay, next one. Regeneration, and it's another legendary Ion Stone. You regain 15 hit points at the end of each hour this pearly white spindle orbits your head. Is a pearly white spindle kind of like the thing that Sims have over their head? I wonder.
I think so.
Like obviously it's white instead of green, but
God, the amount of things I've been googling for this episode. Spindle.
I'm putting you through your paces.
Yeah.
This pearly white spindle orbits your head, provided that you have at least 1 hit point. So as long as you're not unconscious, at the end of each hour you regain 15 hit points. That is so unwieldy. That's such weird maths.
You regain 15 hit points at the end of each hour.
At the end of each hour, that's so
in game, because that is like that's.
I'm so confused. All I'm thinking about is like, is it like a clock based on the stone? Like you put on the stone and then it's like 0, 0, 0, 0,
and it goes ding every time you heal.
Because how does that work with short rests? Because short rests take an hour, and you regain hit points at the end of them by spending hit dice, if I recall correctly.
Dan, I just want to ask you something just real quick. How do you feel about just time passing in game? And how do you feel when your players ask you, how long will it take us to get to places? Or how long does that take? You know, like, do you have a mini heart attack like I do? And when I see this, like, you have to think of an hour in game.
When I look at this ability, I think it is a nightmare.
Yeah.
I haven't had that issue with the game I'm currently running because I had a map of the area drawn before I started running the campaign. Yeah. And I knew I wanted a small scale. So normally I'm like, that'll take about half a day to get there, or maybe a full day if it's a little further. Yeah. And that's broadly the kind of measurements I go with. I sort of think about, I don't think about things in terms of hours, I guess, when I think about people traveling. I think more in terms of like, you know, if you were a traveler and if you relied on getting places on foot, you probably wouldn't think in hours. You'd probably think in fractions of daylight. So that's kind of how I do it. I always think like, oh, you know, a person would say it'll take you about half a day to get there. Yeah. And they don't mean like half a day, like whatever, like, you know, a day is 12 hours and they mean 6 hours. They mean like between leaving here and getting there, the sun will probably be near the top of the sky. And if you did that again, it'd probably be dark. Yeah. Or it would probably be about to get dark, because obviously normal travelers would not want to be out after dark because the world is dangerous. Yeah. Adventurers are brave and unusual people, but normal people would be like, there are monsters, literal monsters outside. I'm getting home before dark. So I'm okay with it. But yeah, when I look at stuff like this, because it says at the end of each hour, like I'm so curious. Like, is it like calendar hours? Like, is it like you know the way like we have a watch, like a clock for the day? Yeah. Like we're recording now at, according to my clock, 19 past 9. Yep. When it reaches 10 p.m., do I get 15 hit points, or do I get 15 hit points at 9:23 because I put the Ion Stone on at first at 11:23 or whatever?
Well, it says at the end of each hour. So like,
yeah, that's what I mean. Like, is it each absolute hour, and does it change with time zones? You know, like it's such a nightmare of an item to figure out. It's like you just gain health some of the time. The fact that it isn't just like an ability that you can use, you know, whatever. Because realistically,
I might change it to like charges of healing, maybe. You know, you have
that's what I would do. I would have charges of healing, maybe specifying that you get whatever 10 a day. They restore every day. You can't use more than 1 an hour or something like that. But like,
yeah, something like that. I don't know. It's not great. It's not a great one.
It's not even that it's good or bad. It's just strange.
It is. And just trying to keep count of an in-game hour is like, I don't know how long it's been. You know, like it's. I guess.
Yeah.
You heal
like that. I think that in particular, because there's no there's no rule set for it, but the rule set for tracking hours is very limited, and most of the time we don't track hours in D&D. Certainly, like when I play D&D, you would track, sort of time in multiple hours if people ask, in terms of travel, overland travel, as I think the game still calls it. And then combat is a matter of seconds, and dungeons are a matter of like minutes, maybe at max an hour. Yeah. That's kind of the ratios that I would use. So when it says at the end of each hour this happens, I hate that because the question becomes because it just, what it does is it means that the best thing to do is to just wait, which is boring, and the game already does a lot of stuff to just make players want to wait. And I don't think magic items should be a thing that incentivize that.
Yeah.
Like the fact that you can long rest and restore the vast majority of your abilities isn't a problem. It's part of the design of the game. But the fact that there isn't an incentive to not long rest is the problem.
Yeah.
The fact that there's no like, you get an XP bonus if you keep going. If you're out of hit die, all experience points are worth three times more or something like that. You know, like something weird like that. That's like deliberately gamey, but recognizes like you're being a cool badass. You're being hardcore.
Yeah.
You're pushing yourself further and you're learning more. I think that rhymed. But like, so the problem is that players are already like, we went into the first room of the dungeon. I had to spend a 3rd level spell slot. Will we long rest?
That's long rest, yeah.
Let's long rest. And the fact that this item is like, if you just wait, you regain health for nothing. You don't have to spend any resources. It's like, what do you think that'll get a player to do? You know?
We just on that. It's nothing to do with this stone, but it's on that kind of topic. I was playing a game with Stephen Friend, the podcast, DMing. He was doing Forges of Fury, and I think at one point we waited until we could do another long rest, and then we long rested. We were like, we've already had a long rest, but we took a lot of damage, so let's do this. Let's wait and then take a long rest. And we waited for like a day. So like, what do you do during this? That
is so grim.
It is like, and it's so ridiculous, and it's so the game. It's so like, oh, of course, that's the best thing we can do right now. It's the optimal way to play the game right now. So let's wait in game.
The rules of the game reward me deeply for doing this.
Yeah,
and do not punish me for doing it.
Yeah, because we already had a long rest, very like a little bit ago. So we had to wait until we could have another one. Oh, it was ridiculous. It was.
Oh God, what a fucking game!
It's all right. Yeah, ridiculous game. Right. So I shall read the next one. This one has a lot more to it. Reserve, rare. This vibrant purple prism stores... That's a good one. Vibrant purple prism.
It is.
Stores spells cast into it, holding them until you use them. The stone can store up to 3 levels worth of spells at a time. When found, it contains 1d4 1 levels of stored spells chosen by the DM. So that's a bit of fun. Any creature can cast a spell of it 1st through 3rd level into the stone by touching it as the spell is cast. The spell has no effect other than to be stored in the stone. If the stone can't hold the spell is expended with that effect. The level of the slot used to cast a spell determines how much space it uses. While the stone orbits the head, you can cast any spell stored in it. The spell uses the slot level, spell save DC in it, and spellcasting ability of the original caster. Okay, but otherwise is treated as if you cast a spell. The spell cast from the stone is no longer stored in it, freeing up space. Cool. So, sorry, I didn't read that very well, but basically, someone can cast a spell into the stone, and it stores that spell. And whoever casts the spell, it uses their DC, it uses their spell casting ability.
Yes.
So, when you shoot out the spell from the stone, you can use the spell, basically. And you don't even have to be a spellcaster, you just have to have the stone. So
doesn't seem like it now.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's kind of handy. That's definitely one of the most interesting abilities that we've had so far.
I think it's probably the most interesting of the Ion Stones anyway.
I'd say so, yeah.
I like it because, I mean, I think that the reality of it is probably that a lot of the time it would be used by the party members who can cast spells. But I like the cooperative element of it being used by the party members who can't cast spells, to like let them interact with that part of the game. And I like the cooperative element of like, you know, like I'm the fighter and you're the cleric. So like when we have a long rest, you pick what spells you put in my stone, and then I have them when we go into the next dungeon, and I can use them to kind of support you as kind of like a, hey, you normally do the supporting, but now I can do a little bit of it because I've got spells in the stone.
Yeah.
I just think that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
I like stuff like that where it lets you think about, because of the fact that the stone says anyone can put spells in it and then anyone else can cast it. It like immediately lets you think about how, like, you know, if obviously one person, like the cleric or the wizard, or, you know, even just like the ranger, like a spellcaster has it and just uses it themselves, it's fine. but it's obviously going to be stronger if everyone works together.
Yeah.
You know, if it's given like one combat spell from the wizard because they have the biggest spell selection, and maybe one healing spell from the cleric because the cleric has the most versatile healing spells, and then maybe something controlling from a ranger or from a bard. And so it's like, you know, everyone can kind of contribute in different ways, and then even the person using the stone is contributing to it as well. And I like that. I think that's very, very cool.
So yeah, use that one if you're going to use these at all, I think. So that one's the best one to use.
I would actually agree with that, but let's finish this first, I guess, before we say anything else about it.
Yeah.
Stregnith. Very rare. Your Stregnith score increases by 2 to a maximum of 20, while this pale blue rhomboid orbits your head.
You need more Stregnith.
You need more Stregnith to solve my riddle.
You need more Stregnith to solve my riddle. Then use this stone. Sorry, that's the best one. Never mind. That's actually the best one you should pick. Is the Stregnith one.
The stone that lets you punch slightly better.
Yeah, I'm already 20 strength. Then
Then it's useless.
Just throw it away.
Here's a very rare item that increases your strength by 2 to a maximum of 20.
But the fighter can't have it.
but the gauntlets of ogre power are uncommon, and they make my strength 19. No, this is much better because it increases your strength by 2 to a maximum of 20. And see, that's better than just giving you 19 strength, which is really flexible.
You can still go to the bathroom while having 20 strength. Because you can't do that with gauntlets.
You can't do that with gauntlets.
I've tried. Next is Sustenance. Rare. This is actually the best one, sorry. You don't need to eat or drink while this clear spindle orbits your head. Actually, you know what? I take that back. No eating. That's the best thing in life, is eating.
No, hang on. It says you don't need to eat. It doesn't say you can't eat. That's different.
All right. Never mind. You got me there, Daniel.
You could still enjoy an absolutely cheeky Nando's.
Yeah.
And the stone would be powerless to stop you.
I can't stop.
But if you said, boys, I'm on a diet, no cheeky Nando's for me, you could sit there in the room with them and you wouldn't get hungry.
Excellent. That's good. The power to go to Nando's and not order anything. True to grace. Have you ever been to Nando's before? Of course I've been to Nando's before. Just let me in here. Let me in. Give me the menu. Get out of my way. Get out of my way. And that's it for the Iron Stones. So Daniel, what do we think about them?
The Reserve Stone is the best one.
Yep.
It's the rest of them are fine. A lot of them are really boring. The Absorption ones are a very cool item to give your villains, especially in the sense that they work in many ways. Like, so, you know, when you have a villain in 5th edition that you want the party to take seriously, some kind of boss monster, and obviously I know we have another podcast dedicated to those sorts of things.
Yep.
But often you would give such a creature a legendary resistance, which lets them mitigate the effect of certain spells or abilities, because there are many abilities in the game that just shut people down, like, you know, casting Maze on them, which just sends them into another dimension, or the Monk's Stunning Strike, which just incapacitates people. And so you give them legendary resistance because then they can't fail the saving throw, basically, and therefore the party have to deal with them in kind of quote-unquote honest ways. And something like an Absorption Stone does something similar to legendary resistance in that it kind of lets the villain skip the spells that your party has that will just like stop someone from fighting them. Like Hold Person, for example, would be a sort of a simple low level one. If one of your party members tries to cast like Hold Person on the villain so that everyone can beat them up, an Absorption Stone would work a lot like legendary resistance and let you kind of say, oh, his stone absorbs it, and then the ability doesn't go off, but hey, instead of it being legendary resistance, which is an ability that lives and dies with the monster, it's a magic item which persists after you defeat the monster, and therefore you can kind of you get something, basically. You get treasure.
That's always one of the best things to do with when you're giving a magic item to a boss, is like, oh, you get it, it's the reward for beating the boss almost.
Yes.
And you know how it works by seeing how it,
by seeing what exactly. And also I would say that the fact that the Absorption Stone does one thing, which is as a reaction absorb a spell, is good, because one of the problems certainly that I always think about whenever I want to give a magic item to my villain is that a lot of magic items can be like, certain high level magic items can be like, it does this thing and also this thing and this third thing, like especially high level magic weaponry.
Yeah.
It's like it's a magic trident, and it also summons storms. It can also control animals, and it's like what the fuck's going on? So like I like that these absorption stones just absorb magic. That's all they do.
Yeah.
And that makes it very straightforward. It's literally just giving your villain a new reaction, you know.
Yeah.
And then in terms of the party, I think the reserve stone is the most interesting. As for all the reasons I've already explained, I like that it makes you think as a team. I like that it gives people who can't cast spells, or gives people who can already cast spells new spells from other classes that they wouldn't otherwise be able to access. I just think that's really cool, and I love the kind of cooperative element of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Excellent. Cool. So the iron stones, funny stones orbit around your head, and they do special things.
They do things, and I wonder, did we spend longer complaining about them than on any individual stone?
I think if we didn't complain about them, we would have got through that faster. Yeah.
Yes.
Always the curse of Creature Club is us shouting about something that doesn't really matter.
That's true. There's a lot of important things happening in the world, and this is not one of them.
Yes.
But here we are.
Yep. All right. So I shall read the next one, Daniel.
Sorry.
I'm trying to keep a show going, and I'm just like, all right, let's keep going. Right. Okay. So the next one is the Iron Bands of Bilaro. Bilaro,
I always said Billaroo.
Billaroo? Okay.
Iron Bands of Billaroo.
Iron Bands of Billaroo. Looks like Bilaro to me, though.
I don't think it's right or wrong. I thought it was interesting because Bilaro sounds like Bizarro.
It does, yeah. Or like Bernardo at the start of Hamlet. That's a really weird, specific theater, even though it's like it's a very famous play, but whatever.
I think that's as far as our horrible references go. I think the opening of Hamlet, one of the classic works of Shakespeare, is probably one of our better ones.
Yeah, it's one of our better ones.
Other than fucking Mazes and Monsters or whatever. Like,
yes. So I'm going to say Bilaro myself. So Bilaro, thank you very much for your service. All right, Iron Bands Bilaro, wondrous item, rare. This rusty iron sphere measures 3 inches in diameter and weighs 1 pound. You can use an action to speak the command word and throw the sphere at a huge or smaller creature you can see within 60 feet of you. As the sphere moves through the air, it opens into a triangle of metal bands. How does the sphere turn to triangle? Oh, okay, let's leave it.
it's a tangle. Sorry. I mean to correct you, but
no, thank you very much. I can get rid of it.
But just because, I agree. If it went from a sphere to a triangle, I would also be outraged. Just for the record.
That would be like an entire 30 more minutes of complaining.
Yeah, it would be another episode. Yeah.
All right, sorry. As the sphere moves through the air, it opens into a tangle of metal bands. Makes more sense that way. Make a ranged attack roll with the attack bonus equal to your dexterity modifier plus your proficiency bonus. Okay, that's just if you're... Never mind. On a hit...
Just a dex, like shooting a bow or something.
Yeah. Doing so, or missing the attack... Oh, sorry. On a hit, the attack is restrained until you take a bonus action to speak the command word again to release it. Doing so, or missing with the attack, causes the bands to contract and become a sphere once more. A creature, including the one restrained, can use an action to make a DC 20 strength check to break the iron bands. On its success, the item is destroyed and the restrained creature is freed. If the check fails, any further attempts made by that creature automatically fail until 24 hours have elapsed. Once the bands are used, they can't be used again until next dawn. That's a bit of an easier way to do it for time. Is like it's you can't use it until the next day. Thank you. Yeah. That's fine. You can absolutely. You know how to do that. Right. So the Iron Bands of Bilaro is like an iron, like a tangle of iron bands in a ball that you can throw at a big creature. This one says a huge or smaller, so anything that's not gargantuan, and you can throw it and it opens up and it can latch on to this creature and constrict them and restrain them. And it's like a big Pokeball almost.
I was thinking Pokeball too. Yeah, I was also thinking that. I was also thinking about how in Spider-Man 2, the movie of the game, one of the attacks you had was like a web ball that sort of like if you hit an enemy with it, they got tangled up.
That's right.
I was also reminded of that. So yeah, it's kind of just like it probably appears in many different kinds of fiction, but yeah, it is just kind of a a more magical version of throwing a net over somebody.
Yeah.
I like it. I think it's weird that it says make a ranged attack roll and then tells you how to make a ranged attack roll. I think that's super weird.
Yeah.
Make a ranged attack roll with an attack bonus equal to your dexterity modifier plus your proficiency bonus.
It should have
That's
just said
a ranged attack roll.
It should have just said make a ranged attack
roll.
a ranged attack roll. You were proficient with this item while making a ranged attack roll. You know,
if it said you are considered proficient with this item when you make it when you throw it, I just find that so weird. But it's not a big deal. It's just it's because it says make a ranged attack roll and not a ranged weapon attack roll.
Yeah.
If it said make a ranged weapon attack roll, it would specify that it's anyway. It's not a big deal. It's just weird whenever the game does this because I think about how that's a whole paragraph. Like that's a long sentence.
I don't know if we can do this again during this episode, Dan.
No, I've already started. No, yeah, it's not a big deal. I just think it's weird. It's just, I think I've said before many times about how I dislike whenever the language feels a bit redundant.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
Come on, man, we've all got lives to lead. You can't keep talking.
I don't have time to read all these.
Like we're on page 177 of Dungeon Master's Guide. If you cut these sentences, we might be at 120.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think it's fine. I think it's weird that it's a semi reusable, semi disposable magic item that's rare. I also think it's probably weird that it's rare at all when you consider like the kind of values of rarity. It's just something that traps something. Like it's not actually a big deal in terms of its actual power level. Like in terms of what it does to the game. Like compared to say an item that would let you fly, or even like the immovable rod or the barred harps we covered already. Like I'm surprised it's rare, but that's not a big deal either. It's just my thoughts.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's fine. It's cool. It does one thing. I like what it does. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. It does exactly just one thing. It can capture anything.
Yes.
That's not
capture a monster and potentially capture it for 24 hours, which is a pretty cool plot point because then you can do stuff like capture the baddie and bring them back to civilization to be judged, which is a kind of a cool plot point.
We're playing a lot of Monster Hunter World right now, and for people who don't know, in that game you can either kill the monster or you can capture it by just capturing it in a trap and just throwing trank grenades at it. So this can be something very similar in that, where you can kind of it's a big monster terrorizing outside the town, so we can just capture it with this thing, with this iron. Bolaro gave us these iron bands, so we can thank Bolaro for that.
I wonder who Bolaro is.
I wonder, some lad. Maybe
just some fella.
Right. Well, that's it. It's a big ball that you can catch things with. So that's nice and simple.
It's a magic Pokeball. This is the last one, and this is a big one.
This is a doozy.
Iron Flask, wondrous item, legendary. So I think this is a pretty old school magic item. This iron bottle has a brass stopper. You can use an action to speak the flask's command word, targeting a creature that you can see within 60 feet of you. If the target is a native to a plane of existence other than the one you're on, they must succeed on a DC 17 Wisdom saving throw or be trapped within the flask. If the target has been trapped by the flask before...
I'm not falling for this again.
If the target has been trapped by the flask before, it has advantage on the saving throw.
Fool me once. Shame on.
It's literally that. It's like, oh no, I've done this already.
Oh no.
Once trapped, a creature remains in the flask until released. The flask can hold only one creature at a time. A creature trapped in the flask doesn't need to breathe, eat, or drink, and doesn't age. It's just like Lockdown.
Just like Lockdown, absolutely.
Topical. You can use an action to remove the flask's stopper and release the creature the flask contains. God, that was a weird sentence that took me on a ride. You can use an action to release the flask stopper and release the creature the flask contains. It could have full stop after and release the creature.
You can use an action to remove the flask stopper and release the creature the flask contains.
The flask contains by using an action to remove the flask stopper from the flask. You know what I mean? Like you could go forever.
Have you ever had a dream that if you could? I've done this before on the podcast. I can't do it again.
But I do it. Have you ever had a dream? That kid is. I hope he has a wonderful life.
Yeah, same here.
He's got the spirit of curiosity. That's what we need.
Absolutely.
Maybe he wrote this book that would explain a lot. The creature is friendly to you and your companions for 1 hour, and obeys your commands for that duration, and is friendly to you for 1 hour. Okay, that one I made up. That was a joke. If you give no commands, or give it a command that is likely to result in its death, it defends itself, but otherwise takes no actions.
Now go. Fight until you die. I'm sorry, what?
It defends itself, but otherwise takes no actions, as in it doesn't... Is it still friendly to you? Okay,
if you give no commands, or give it a command that is likely to result in death, it will take the command and likely result in its death, but it also gives the command and
until it gives you a command, and now things get interesting. At the end of the duration, the creature acts in accordance with its normal disposition and alignment. An identify spell reveals that a creature is inside the flask, but the only way to determine the type of creature is to open the flask. A newly discovered bottle might already contain a creature chosen by the DM or determined randomly.
It's like when you get a Christmas present and someone got you Lego, and you shake it and you hear the Lego, but you don't know what kind of Lego it is by just hearing it.
Is it Star Wars Lego?
Yep.
Is it City? Is it Creator?
Harry Potter? Is it Indiana Jones? I don't know. Could be anything.
Oh man. I mean, it wouldn't matter. I'd enjoy it no matter what it was.
Yeah,
you know?
any Lego's
That's the
great.
beauty of it. Yeah, exactly. Other construction products are available, of course. Until we finally get that. Until we finally finally get that Lego sponsorship we've been aiming
I'm pretty
for.
sure we've only said good things about Lego, about the product at least
That's true,
of Lego.
actually,
So
yeah.
like,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they'd be interested in us. I don't know if they need us.
no.
but yeah, that's true. I mean, I think we're pretty unequivocally positive about it as a product.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. And then there is, after that, description of the fact that there might be a monster inside. There is a table, a D100 table. I won't read it all out because it's just a bunch of creatures from different dimensions, demons, devils, genies,
Angels. Yeah.
Angels is cool. Then there's some kind of slightly unusual ones, like there's a salamander and a slod, and some Githyanki and a Githzerai, which I think is funny, just because they're like, I mean, I know they're like extra planar creatures, but they're also just dudes.
Yeah, they're just like, please get me out. Like, they get him out like, thank you for letting me out of there.
You know, it's like if you opened up a glass bottle and you let out like someone you know from college.
Yeah.
It's like, Marcus, is this where you were? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, no wonder you haven't been in touch in a while. You've been in this iron flask.
So how are you doing? Not
how are
not
you
great,
anyway?
to be honest. I'm better
Not
now.
great, to be honest. Yeah, thanks for taking me out of that flask. By the flask magic, I'm forced to be friendly to you, but I'd be friendly otherwise. So sort of, you know.
It would be pretty messed up though. You open up this iron flask, messed up and also cool. They open up this iron flask and a solar comes out, and it's just like, oh god, what's happening here?
What year is it? Is it still year 7?
Also, how do you trap a solar in an iron flask? Questions for another day, I guess. But
rolls real bad on that wisdom saving throw, I guess. Doesn't have any of his legendary resistances left
No.
either. Well timed by whoever had the flask, I guess.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So jokes about you can use an action to remove the flask stopper and release the creature the flask contains. That sentence, along with the description of the Ion Stone. These are going in my fucking book, which I'm gonna like. I'm never gonna make that because they would think I'm a serial killer.
Treasure Trove is not actually about us, talking about magic items. It's just us about making fun of the Dungeon Master's Guide and how it's written.
But like, it's and it's in fairness, like I actually, for the record, I think this is a great magic item. Again, it does the thing I said I like. It does a thing. What does the Iron Flask do? It traps monsters. It might have a monster in it when you find it.
Yeah,
that's it.
It's like
it does one thing. It's very powerful because obviously it can trap any monster. And it doesn't say, there's no restriction, like it doesn't matter how powerful the monster is. Obviously this table contains a solar, a demon type 6, a greater devil, so like the game makes it clear that this thing can capture anything, and that's cool as hell.
It's like your players are sometimes I've come across other players who kind of want to put living things into a bag of holding, and you can't really do that, or unless they would die, I guess. But because there's no air in there. But this is kind of giving that like,
like, you can
this is another thing you can use. It's wondrous. It's legendary. It's very, very rare.
Yeah.
But you can find this somehow. It's just hard.
And this is even more Pokeball than the Iron Bands of Billiver, really.
Yeah.
Because the Pokeball like basically does do this. It takes a Pokemon and turns it into like a little beam of light, and keeps it inside. So like this is even more. This is even more Pokemon. So if your players do want to play Pokemon, this is probably where you start.
Here's something fun. It's not fun and strange. Was this made before the Monster Manual? Because it says Demon Type 1, Demon Type 2, Demon Type 3.
So that's the old school terminology.
Okay.
Obviously now we just use the terms, but the demons previously were typed, and in fact the Monster Manual does still say this is a Demon Type 6.
Yeah.
But it's not used in the Monster Manual in the same way. And so I think you're right that this was written, I think, concurrently with the Monster Manual, so they didn't have the names of everything nailed down.
Yeah. When you say this is the Demon Type 6, it just reminds me of like a post-apocalyptic monster, kind of like an Attack on Titan kind of thing. Like, it's a Demon Part 6. It's a Demon Type 6. Watch out.
Or what is it? One Punch Man with all the like dragon level threat and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's true. It's very, very like that.
It's a Type 6.
It's a Type 6, and so basically that's the same as like different actual monsters in the Monster Manual. But that's a good point, Mikey. It might be the case that because this was done concurrently, they had agreed that they were going to have demons and they were going to reference the previous types, but in the actual Monster Manual it's really more just about the names of things. It doesn't really use demon types in the same way.
But that's not really anything to do with the Iron Flask. That's just an observation I found. But
it's interesting. But yeah, you're right.
Iron Flask it's fun. It's a great magic item. It's a very powerful, but it's supposed to be very powerful. So it's a great item to give to if you want to reward your party after like a long journey, a long dungeon. Something great, and they can do lots of stuff with it. They can keep a monster in there and use it like a Pokeball, make it fight for him. They can you can capture the big bad in it at some point. Maybe it can just do lots of fun stuff. That would be derailing, but hey, it's a thing you can do. Like if you capture a big bad in an Iron Flask, like once you give it to, it's kind of one of those items where it does the one thing. So you give it to a player, they know how it works. So you have to leave their own imagination to come up what to do with it.
Yeah, you make it their problem to figure out what to do.
Absolutely,
with it, which is obviously fantastic. You give them enough rope to hang themselves, as they say. Also, just I think I should mention this because there isn't one in the table. It says that the creature has to not be native of the plane you're on, and the item presupposes, based on the tables, that you are on the mortal plane because it's all creatures from the different dimensions. But there's no reason an Iron Flask couldn't trap a person if that person is visiting another plane of existence. So that's all. I just thought I'd mention that because I think that would be very cool. Establish in your canon the equivalent of like Greek, Roman, or Celtic heroes like Cuchulainn or Achilles, and then have the players find them in a flask.
Yeah, ooh, that's very cool.
Perhaps amongst the collection of some powerful entity in another dimension.
Yeah, you hear the legends of these people, and and they disappeared and never to be seen again.
Yeah, they just disappeared. They sailed out into the sea and they were never seen again.
Yeah.
And it's like,
and then you find it in the sea, and you're like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, literally, you're like, oh, they went through a portal into the plane of water, and a powerful water genie put them in a flask for fun.
Yeah.
And now you free them, and they become your stand.
And now that's a great. Also, that's if you don't not using this actually using it in the game, it might be a fun backstory. You can just do a Captain America and say that you're from another time, and then go into the future.
Yeah, so that's true.
Like, I was putting an Iron Flask. I'm from years back, but like I'm now in the future. Samurai Jack, get back to the past.
That would be very cool.
Yeah. So that's a fun little backstory thing. Like once you get out of it, then it just shatters or something, I guess. I don't know. Or like it's like Metroid, you fall and then like your power ups all fall out into the drain. Like no,
of course, no. What is that from? What's that joke from? Because so many people reference it, but I can't remember what it's from.
I think it's from like a Newgrounds animation or something where
I think that's it.
It's like Samus just like walks down like a hallway, and she's like, "I'm ready to take on the world." And I forgot which one it was though. But if anyone happens to know, I watched it years ago. But she's just my power ups, no.
Yeah, and they all fall down like a literal gutter
drain.
in this cave system. Yeah. It's very good.
I saw it
I cannot
years ago, and it's still in my head.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, like no, this is the thing. I'm the exact same. I think I saw it when I was still like 10 or 11, like maybe 12 years old or something.
Yeah.
But it's such a distinct image that it sticks in your head.
Yeah.
You know, like somehow I can't remember anything from those days, but I remember that specific image.
Yeah.
Of Samus falling and all the power ups falling down a drain, because it's just there's something about it that's just deeply funny.
It's also just like the games, really, because it happens every Metroid game.
Oh, it does. Yeah.
That's great. That's the Iron Flask, though. That's it, and that's all.
It is.
So the Iron Flask, keep a monster or a person inside a flask, and yeah, just keep them in there. That's all it does. It's a great item. It's a powerful item, but give it to your players if you want to see something interesting and fun happen. And that is it for That is all there. That's everything. We have finished up for today's episode of Treasure Trove. So yes, the eyes have been some beefy ones, but some good ones I think in there. Some interesting ones too, and especially after hearing us rant about certain wordings and stuff. But I don't think that's anything to do with the items themselves. It's more like how they're written and how they're portrayed. I think I don't know. That's kind of my take off from that one. So
I mean, like, yeah, you know, I think the way I think I've said this before. I don't think I've said it necessarily on the podcast, but I've said this before. The reason that there is a type of, you know, person who plays D&D like us, and also like my brother Adam, for example, who will, you know, play D&D, but also will very happily explain what they think the problem with the game is, you know, where they think the game falls down. I think obviously you can be a jerk about that, and I think in some ways we laugh about this because, you know, it's more interesting that way and it's more engaging. But it's just because we care about the game. Like, if we didn't care, we wouldn't. Like, it's like, oh, the Iron Flask is a bit badly written, but I don't care about D&D, so I don't care that it's badly written.
Yeah.
And like, the only reason you're bothered is because you're like, I know how good this game is, and I know these rules can be better, and I know that nothing would be lost if they were better written.
Yeah.
And it would just mean that more people could play the game, more people could enjoy the game, and there would be less, you know, getting hung up on, like, you know, even you said, like, you would read the first 2 paragraphs of the Ion Stone and be like, I am not using these items in my game, and that's it.
Absolutely.
Like, that's, you know, the book has failed to make you excited about these cool items when they're actually very fun.
Yeah.
When you think about the fantasy of them, it's just that you always have to pay the fun tax rules before you get to the part where it's like you get a cool brain rock.
Yeah,
it's like great.
And I think with D&D, having, like, it's not detrimental to the game if the rules are a bit, like, not great, or the rules are strange, because I don't think anyone really plays by the rules fully. No one does. It's and the thing about tabletop games is that you don't have to, and you don't, like, lots of the times, like, I know with me, most of the time when I started playing, it was like word of mouth, and I was playing from whoever taught me how to play before that, and it was just like learning how to play from that. And I don't think they were doing it right, but they were learning from someone else, their DM, and then I was learning, and then I eventually started going through the rule book and stuff, like, recently, kind of like just a bit before we started doing this podcast. I was like, I better start, like, learning the proper rules here, and then just from seeing other people that we play with kind of know the rules more, so I started to learn the rules from them too. But like you don't really need to, but like it's good to have a good understanding of the basic rules and stuff. But for stuff like this, you know, like,
yeah, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's worth remembering that all this stuff is supposed to be optional. You know, you don't have to use any of these magic items.
Absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, if the rules are a bit weird, it's just like the main frustration is you're sort of like, wait, what? Like, why am I here? Like,
yeah.
Like, why is it telling me all about how easy it is to break this extraordinarily rare magic item I want to give my players?
Yeah.
Why is it telling me specifically how to get rid of it? Like, shouldn't I know what it does first, before I try to get rid of it? And, you know, it's just like, I don't know. It's just I guess it's like the divide between informational text, which can be quite dense, and then kind of like, you know, theatrical text that just builds your excitement and makes you keen to play the game.
Yeah. And I know I'm going to just quick tiny rant here. I just kind of noticed before, there's a small percentage of D&D players who don't like D&D because of reasons like this. And personally, that's absolutely fine. Personally, myself, I just don't really understand it that much because it's like D&D to me inherently is very loose and freeform. So I don't understand how someone can not really like the game that much because of the rules, really.
Yes.
Personally, myself, that's just really how I play. I know a lot of people like the rules, and like the rules is there to control the fun. But I'm kind of a person who's like, if the rules isn't kind of strange and weird, then I don't really use it as much. But that's just my style. That's how I play. That's not how everyone does it. I completely understand. So.
No, I think that's fair. Like, I mean, I always think the thing I always think about is how when I engage my memories, when I think back, because I was thinking about this I think earlier this week, and I was like, I've played a decade of Dungeons and Dragons at this stage. Like, if all of my D&D experience was a separate person, it would be like old enough to almost go to secondary school.
Yeah.
It'd be old enough to stand up and ask me difficult questions. Like, why did I waste so much time? But like,
why?
So why, Father? So like, I always think, like, I think that the memories you have, the strongest memories you have, are not really about the rules. They're kind of about the events and the narrative and the story, and the best ones are, the moments driven by the sort of conflux of narrative and player choice, where the players are invested in the moment and the players have a lot of agency in the moment, and very rarely does that agency have a strong link to rules, and more often it's linked to narrative and their character.
Yeah.
And more about like that they choose to take action in a certain way, and not about that they have X and Y ability. So like, to take an example from our games, Mikey, obviously one of my favorite games from Quest Boys was when the party attended a formal ball.
Yeah.
And you guys just asked me, what are people doing at the ball? And I just sort of said, like, oh, there's this and that event going on. There's some people who are kind of drunkily talking about having a duel, maybe getting a few swords out of the armory for fun. There's people who are having like an arm wrestling contest on a barrel. And you guys were like, yeah, let's do that. And like, you spent hours of the game just engaging with these, like, really mechanically, there was no game at all. But it was about the narrative of the party playing at this party, right? Like, the characters were actually having fun at a party because the players wanted their characters to have fun at a party.
Yeah.
And that is, like, to me, that's a really strong memory. And another one would be when Adam's character chose to kill another character, the Radek, the main villain of the arc, basically, making the decision to kill them when they were, like, already sort of defeated, rather than simply leaving them unconscious and capturing.
It was like the Fable, like the video game morality choice part, where it's like, do you kill him or do you spare him? And then he was like, I kill him, because this reason, this reason,
Yes, because of all these very good reasons that my character would do it, that nevertheless will negatively affect the party. And I think I think that's a great moment that had, again, the only part of the rules that mattered was that it was technically his turn, which was why he was allowed to do that.
Yeah.
But that was more of a coincidence more than anything else. And even if it wasn't turns, right? Like, even if we'd said, okay, you've knocked him out, combat's over. What do you want to do? Like, that would still be possible.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's what I think. I think that the rules are just there to. They're there when nothing else will set. Like, when a player wants to do something and the DM doesn't know whether or not they should do it, the rules are supposed to go, it's okay, we'll sort this part out. It's like the player's like, I want to lift the big heavy rock. The DM's like, I don't know if you can lift that rock. Then the rules step in and you roll the dice.
Yeah, like, I think you can with the basic rules that you like, the really basic stuff of like how to do a fight, what's on your character sheet. It's enough to get you by. And like what the skills are, that's enough to play the game. Like, oh, I think I can lift a rock because my strength is 20. Yeah, you can lift a rock then. Like, if your strength's 20, but my strength is 10. It might be a bit harder. Let's do a strength roll. So
yeah, let's see if you can exert yourself enough to lift this rock.
Yeah,
let's do a roll. Maybe someone else helps you and you get advantage on the roll. Because hey, two people will have an easier time lifting a rock than one. But like, the rules there aren't complicated, really.
Yeah.
But the the narrative, the decisions, the agency, I think that's where the game lies at its heart.
Absolutely, and that's why I like the game. That's what draws me to it is like the stories you tell with just like the characters and with the narrative that you weave together, and the choices that you make in character, and not just the rules because of it. Just more about the choices.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Right. That's interesting. That was a good little talk there, Daniel. Shall we end it there?
I agree. Do you know that you can use an action to remove the flask stopper and release the creature the flask contains? I've got the line highlighted on my I'm
gonna get that tattooed on me.
Yeah, I'm gonna get that tattooed onto my body forever.
Yes, I need that, Daniel.
Yeah, I think that's been a great episode, and I think we've already said as much, but hey, this game is fun, and if we make fun of it, it's only because we care.
Yep.
And I hope you laugh at least a little bit as much as we do when we get really into like, this is stupid, let me explain why.
Yeah, I hope you don't think that we're being a bit too mean-spirited, because like we do love the game, and we love we like the resources that come out from the game as well. So
yeah, absolutely.
We're not here to badmouth. It's all a bit of fun, and I hope it comes across that way. So,
and hopefully, if we say here's something that we think is bad, you can say either, hey, that's an interesting point, I agree with that, or you could say, hey, I actually disagree with that, and I think these rules are important, and that tells you how you think about the game and what you like, and that's valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So if you enjoyed this show of Treasure Trove, then consider, if it's your first time, subscribing to us on whatever podcast app you are listening to us on. And if you like us, then consider telling a friend as well who also likes D&D.
That'd be great.
And let them know that we're some folks who give you some ideas for your games at home. So if you know anyone who would value those little tips and tricks on D&D, then sure, pass us on to them. So we have a website, creatureclubpodcast.com, where you can check out the episodes there. You can contact us. You can send us any questions, queries. Also, homebrew monsters for our homebrew special that we hope to do soon. We want to do one very soon. We've been meaning to do one for a while.
Yeah, we do.
We just haven't really been able to do it, really. It's
just I don't know what's happened. I don't know, bad eggs. I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
It's hard to get the three of us in a call now, and when we do get us in a call, we want to do a main episode because that's really it.
Except last time where we where I think we helped Tim grieve. I think that was valuable, and I think that's really it's a reminder that sometimes the game doesn't go how you think, or the podcast in this case. But yeah, I think we would very much like to do that. We might even have enough that we can do a couple. I don't know if we do them in a row. Maybe we would. Maybe we do like a bumper episode. Yeah. Where we do like loads of them. I don't know how many we have. Well, I think we have at least, and perhaps like we might be one or two short of a full booklet. But who knows? We might do a big bad episode all about new stuff.
Yeah, we can like bank them. We can have 2 episodes because we have a lot of stuff in there, so we can easily get 2 out there right now. And what I remember, we have some pretty damn good monsters in there and in our bank of homebrew guys waiting for us. So I think so anyway. There's one that a friend of ours, Rob, did that we played against, and I really like one of his boss monsters. Yes. So look forward to that one. We look forward to talking about that one. So
and Rob is an unbelievably talented dungeon master, and he comes up with very cool monsters.
Yes, and he's also an unbelievably talented illustrator as well. So he actually drew a little pog for it, a little stand.
Yes, he did, which is very cool.
And that art will be included. I'm pretty sure because he gave us a stat, we'll have permission from him. But
I think he did actually.
We can ask him. We can ask him for it, but that will be included there. It looks great, and we'll talk all about this monster when the time comes. So look forward to that one. But yeah, do that. And yes, we're on Twitter, Creature Club Podcast on Twitter. Look us up there, or Creature Club Creature Club Pod. You can chat to us there. We'll get back to you as quick as we can.
We're on Twitter too much, which is any amount.
Yes, and it's unhealthy, but sure, we'll do it for you folks if you want to talk to us. So
yeah, the only reason you should be on Twitter is because sometimes people make funny jokes or pictures of animals.
Yes.
And actually, illustrators. I've been following a lot of illustrators recently.
Same here. Yeah, I have a lot of art Twitter as well.
I've actually been really enjoying it. It's been very nice.
A lot of but my Twitter has become, there's a lot of pornography on my Twitter, to be honest with you. It just happened.
Well, there you go.
And I'm like,
that's great. No, don't. That's fantastic.
It's better than
Sometimes
bad
you
news.
need a
I'm
little
like, you
pick-me-up.
know what? I like this.
You know what? Mikey, that's a great attitude.
Yeah.
I strongly agree.
I
with
much
that.
prefer seeing that stuff, which, like, listen, I'm sounding here like I don't want to see this pornography on my Twitter, even though I'm like inviting it on my Twitter now.
It's like it would be very rude to invite the porn in and then be like, "Excuse me, madam, would you put those breasts away?"
Yeah.
Because like you started it.
Yeah.
On the subject of otherwise non-pornographic art, I've been following James Turner.
Okay.
Don't know if you follow him. He is the art director for Pokemon.
Okay.
And he is great. His art is all really cute and really fun. He sometimes just draws the Pokemon that he designed for the game and explains how he came up with them, or when he came up with them, or who else on the team came up with them. And then sometimes he does stuff like Kirby in a suit applying for a job, and it's just great because anything Kirby does is fantastic. So I'd actually really recommend them if you're looking for like a balm from the bad news.
Good stuff. Just gave him a follow there.
Shout. Oh yes,
I did that. There we go. Excellent stuff, folks. So we shall leave it there. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Treasure Trove. Have a good week, guys. We'll see you next time for the next episode of something. So thanks, guys. I've been Mikey,
and I've been Dan.
Stay cool. What's
Great.
up?
I went to the fridge to get that Coke I mentioned. And as I said, like, I'm a little tired from that milkshake. Maybe I'll get the Coke to give me like road energy so that I can record this podcast. And then I reached into the fridge so quickly, I punched one of the shelves. Like just like slapped like the condiment shelf. All of them jumped.
It's just like your body's just not working exactly right now, so your brain's just like, okay, arm, go in there and reach it, okay, you got it there, brain, and you're like no, let's try it again. That's not how we do things when we're grabbing. That is funny. That was worth it.
Oh, I'm glad you like that. It's just like, that's never happened. I've lived in this house for 2 years. I've never done that to the fridge before.
I never punched the fridge.
Never punched a part of the fridge while trying to access another part of the fridge.
Yeah.
But this is the day.
It's not this day.
Oh,
This day we fight. All right.